Why is it okay and even preferable to piss people off? Especially in the comments section or when you're out speaking. There's a quote that if you appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one. And this is true in marketing, this is true in dating, this is true in life. And as a Scorpio, well, it's no secret we love pissing people off. We have been labeled as a shit disturber. And if you're new to me, if you just started following, maybe because in the last few days I've discovered Threads. I mean, I didn't discover it, but I decided to finally check it out for more than just reading and actually comment. So I made an account, and the first thing I did is what I do on all social media. I commented on other people's stuff. I read what they were saying. I added some value. If I disagreed with something and I'm like, this could probably use a different perspective, I gently put that in. And I did piss a whole bunch of people off, particularly in the realm of women's empowerment and relationships. If you are a woman on this account following me right now, and you actually were attracted to me because of my stance on women's empowerment, maybe you saw me in a thread comment, or maybe it was on just Instagram. Maybe you're a friend. Maybe you were just scrolling and you saw, oh, she's into women's empowerment. I'm going to follow her and check her out. However you got here, well, the reason why men, and I'm not saying all men, and I'm not the not all men person, but I am going to say this. You know what happens. A woman posts something online that's not even directed at men, and suddenly there are comments by men that are tearing you down. Pissing, like they're pissed off, right? And I mean, sometimes there's also some women out there that get pissed off by the same thing. And they're like, how dare you say that? I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need a man. There are no good men left. And if you're still in that place, I'm going to tell you right now, girl, same. After what happened to me in my teens, when I was trying very hard to just be myself and waiting for my prince to come, the boys would play their silly little boy games and they would tease me. And it took me until a couple of years ago when I started actually connecting with men to understand that those boys just were really intimidated. Some of them were afraid of rejection, so they rejected me first. Some of them thought that that was what you do when you get a girl that you like, and nobody told them, hey, that girl that you like, that you keep chasing. I mean, all the boys were doing it to me, every single one of them in my class. It was insane. I kept thinking no boys like me. If you want to know more about that, though, you can go and check out some of my other videos. I mean, I just do this personally just for fun. I do have a professional business. I actually help women who want to have more beautiful, empowered birth experiences, and that is my book behind me. But I also just really love to freestyle, and this is how I do it, is I have my YouTube account. I also have a personal Facebook that I go live on, and I have this Instagram account that I go live on. And if you want the edited version of all of those videos, you just go to Carly Bonderud Uncensored. And again, I'm not selling anything. I just talk about my insights. This is just my thing that I like to do. I want to bring light to the world. I want to bring those insights. As a reflector, I also see a lot of things that people don't notice. And as a Scorpio, I love pissing people off. So here's what I found out, though, when I would speak out and basically go against what society had taught me to do. Like, the boys would pick on me, and instead of going, ha ha ha, ha, cute boys, I would tell them that they were idiots and to knock it off. Unknowingly rejecting them, which probably made them feel really bad. And to any of the boys that were in my second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, probably still eighth grade. Well, yeah, all through high school too. I'm sorry. I mean, you weren't for me, but at the same time, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I picked on you. And like, ladies, if you got fed up with their crap, it was like, you're justified in it, okay? You did not have to put up with that. Unfortunately, the way that society has been for decades, generations, centuries, allowed that behavior to continue, and we didn't have a voice for a very long time. But we have regained our voice. We don't have to be afraid anymore. So my son is very sweet. He doesn't pick on the girls, and because of that, he has a lot of girls around him. He's also not interested in dating, which probably hurts a lot of girls because they like him and they have crushes on him. And when he's not into that, they think there's something wrong with him. So it's on both sides. It's really on both sides. But here's what happens when you piss people off is it triggers those wounds. It triggers those unconscious things. And then it gets you attention. And yeah, sometimes it's negative attention. Sometimes it's like, whoa, like, I don't understand, like, why they're hating on me for this beautiful light-filled post. Well, because you triggered them. When I go and I speak out about how there are good men, amazing men, there are men who have evolved to the point that they're like, thank you for seeing us. There are women who are like, oh my gosh, yes, I have the most amazing man in my life, and I went through a lot of crap to get to him, but yes, thank you. And then there's women out there that are like, you know, I was really hoping that there were men still out there, and you're confirming what I wanted. So thank you. And then there's the wounded ones that are like, there are no good men. You're just pandering to the patriarchy. I'm like, no, I'm not. I hate the patriarchy. I'll burn the patriarchy. I think it doesn't serve anybody. And I'm not afraid to say that. And it may piss off a lot of people right now. I hate the patriarchy. The patriarchy does not serve us. Feminism to the point where we exclude men also doesn't serve us. And I said a lot of things in high school even, to the extent because I was realizing I thought boys don't like me. And the only ones that like me are the ones that want to get in my pants, and there's no good male friends. Like, all the guys that want to be my friend really were just waiting for their chance to strike. And I was jaded. For a very long time, I was jaded. And I was jaded in putting myself out there in my business. I was jaded in putting myself out there in my life. I was like, if I say this thing, people are going to stop liking me, and then I'll have no friends. If I say this thing, I'm going to get everybody pissed off. I mean, it's ingrained in us from centuries and centuries and centuries of oppression. And guys had it too. They just had it in a different way. They couldn't exactly speak out against their brothers because they would be considered heretics. And when you have a very violent history where the good men are afraid to speak up, and they're also told that they're weak if they embrace more feminine qualities and if they actually connect their heart, and women are told to only stay in their heart, and if they use their brain and actually speak out, they're branded a witch. When you really look at all that trauma and how afraid we've been of pissing people off with our messages, well, is it any wonder that we're all walking around with masks? Is it any wonder that we're not able to connect on a really deep level? Is it any wonder that men and women can't seem to reconcile? And there's so many men out there that are so wounded, and they are out there spewing their hate. And I have been on the threads, and I see those men. But do you know what I actually see? I don't see men who genuinely want women. I see men who have been so rejected and so downtrodden and so angry about it, and they can't seem to figure out that they just need to look in the mirror and see what they're saying to women is not exactly how you get a woman. And I'm seeing my sisters, my wounded sisters, out there giving up on men because they keep seeing these men that's like, you don't even want to be with me. I gave you everything. And you went and you slept with her. And now you're telling me it's my fault because I let myself go a little bit, but I gave you everything. I've got nothing left. But then the second we leave those men, we become vibrant and gorgeous. Like we're back to ourselves very quickly. We bounce back. Like, it's really sad. It's really sad. And the way I got out of that, the way I was able to protect myself from actually being in a relationship with everybody except my former partner, the reason I left so quickly and I didn't stay, and it was like maybe if a guy was a little bit interested in me and he wanted to hook up, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to get mine and leave, and he's just going to get his and leave, and like whatever. But if there was no substance, I was just like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because that's not even who I wanted in the first place. I'm okay. If I really wanted a guy and he didn't see me, it hurt. But at the same time, I would start to recognize that that was my wounding. So when I met my ex, where I was at, and I'm not proud of this, but where I was at was I'm done with men. I'm going to become Samantha from Sex and the City. I'm going to have a bunch of cats. I'm going to make a bunch of money. I'm going to focus on my career, and I don't need men, was what I said. And what my ex did was he also had been like, I'm swearing off women, but I want a partner, and he knew what to say. And I mean, my ex is not a bad guy. My ex has just been deeply, deeply hurt. And in his deep hurting, he hurt me. He still has work to do. And the thing is, we all do. I was deeply hurt. And I had the energy of, I'm just going to give you everything so that you stay with me. And I don't know what you see in me, but like you could go elsewhere. You could go find some other pretty girl. I'm interchangeable with any number of pretty girls. There's nothing special about me is what I thought. And he secretly felt the same. Now, when it's true love, this is a different thing. This is why I also say that men and women need to be friends first. There can't be a romantic connection. So the thing, though, that you really need to understand here about the men and women need to be friends is that this is how I healed. This is how I started to get my insights, is by genuinely being friends with men. And this happened after I met my true love. Because before I met him, I was trying to leave my partner. I had been so beaten down and so tired that I was starting to think that single motherhood might not be so bad. Whereas before I was clinging and holding on to that relationship because I'm like, I don't want to be a single mother. I know I'm going to struggle. I won't be able to survive without my partner. You know what the world is like for single mothers. It's even more cruel to a woman who's in her 30s than it is to a woman in her 20s when she's single. There are no good men out there. If you've seen the movie The Other Woman, like Leslie Mann actually says this, like you might have seen that. It's like, all of the pool was everyone, and now it's just a shallow pool, and everybody is old and gross, and I don't want to do that. But, I mean, then she ends up meeting, Cameron Diaz's character, whose name is Carly, by the way, which I totally approve. And she's a badass in that movie. Seriously, check out The Other Woman if you haven't. It's on Netflix. It is the most cathartic, feel-good, feminine movie ever. And it also has a really awesome man in it. Like, not Jamie Lannister. That's not, obviously, that's the character. I can't ever pronounce his name. I think it's Nikolai something. But Jamie Lannister from Game of Thrones is playing the douchebag guy who had a beautiful doting wife, Leslie Mann. And then what happens is that she's giving him everything, and he's having her sign papers for a company that he's kind of building with her, but actually he's trying to steal money and then leave her to be like holding the bag if the feds come. Like, this is terrible. And at the beginning of the movie, though, the character Carly, played by Cameron Diaz, she's just doing her thing. She's not into commitment. She's out there, and she is a lawyer, and she's successful, and she's happy. She wants a relationship, and she's not super attached. And Jamie Lannister, I think his name was Mark, he comes in and he pretends he's single, and he woos her over the course of several dates, and she is hooked, and she's like, this is it. I'm going to let him meet my father. And it turns out that he has his wife. So she finds out. She goes to the house because she's like, oh, you have to get your plumbing done. I'm going to wear a plumber's outfit, and I'm going to show up with, and it's like, fix your plumbing sort of thing, like fun. And then the wife opens the door, and she's like, oh, crap. But Leslie Mann's character, like, I think her name's Kate. She comes to her work, and then they end up becoming best friends. And then Carly falls for Kate's brother. And then they also find out that because neither of them is sleeping with Mark or Mike or whatever his name was, that he goes and he finds a 20-something. And then they all become friends. And then he's got another one. But the lesson here is, like, if we all band together as women, instead of hating on each other, then we can kind of, like, just not continue to perpetuate that. I mean, he might grow up, or he might continue to act like a toddler. But it was a really good movie. It was such a good movie. And it had such a good lesson. And the thing is, though, is that she's like, there's no good men out there. And that is where I was at. When I was, like, this was back in 2019. And before that, my ex had said he wanted to open up the relationship. So I'm like, okay, fine. You want to see other women? Go ahead. I know for a fact that nobody will love you better than I am loving you right now. And I know for a fact that you're going to miss me because I'm awesome. But just to let you know, if you're going to do that, I'm doing that. And so I went on Tinder. And I put up my profile. And I was very intentional with it to make it like I am as hot and attractive and ready to play as possible. And oh, did I get the hits. So many. And out of that, I'm like, there is a very slim pool of guys that I would actually want. And even just for a good time. And I'm like, oh, the pool is really shallow. Well, I want my husband at the time. What changed after trying to go elsewhere thinking that the pool was shallow is that when I stopped looking, when I focused on myself, I saw him, and my instant thought was, damn. My second thought was, oh no, this is dangerous. My third thought was, Well, if I hear him talk, it's probably going to be patriarchy coming out of his mouth. And then it's going to totally turn me off. And then he talked. And I thought, okay, he talks a good game, but is he actually self-aware? And he was self-aware. And he was sharing his heart and his soul. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, if there's one, there's more. And sure enough, someone else around in the same area was like, he was in the same basic community. And I'm like, wow, there's another one. Cool. And the more I stayed in that space, that pool, the more I saw other ones. And out of all the sea that I had not noticed before, because when you're sitting there in the pond and you're kissing frogs, you kind of forget that there's a castle just beyond that's full of princes. I mean, there's some Hans princes from Frozen in there, but there are princes in the castle. So many of them. And you can have your pick of them. And I was like Marilyn Monroe in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, where I'm like, no, 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 no. Still this one. No, 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 no. Still this one. I mean, these guys are still great. I would love to introduce them to all my friends. They totally deserve to have the girl of their dreams. They are amazing. Wow, I'm adopting them as my brothers. Totally adopting them as my brothers because they are accountable for their actions and they are saying everything that I've ever wanted to hear from a man without expecting anything from me because they know I'm not available. They know I'm healing. But this one, yeah. So when you recognize that, and the other part about that is in order to find that person, you have to be willing to piss others off. You have to say things that might turn off other people. You have to be bold. You have to do what's unconventional. You have to say what needs to be said. And even in a sea of men, I am willing to tell every single one of them, hey, I'm not for you. I'm not afraid of saying that. I'm not afraid of being like, look, it's him. It's always going to be him. It doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter what you do. It's going to be him. Like, it's going to be him. And the same thing you have to do with your business and with your life. It's like, hey, it doesn't matter if you don't like the way I said that. I will take it under advisement. At the same time, this is my truth. Like in my work, there is a polarity when I say the term natural birth. Not last year, but the year before, I was at an event and I didn't make any sales. I didn't go in expecting sales either. What I was going in for was to get the experience, to make the connections, and to be visible. And I achieved those goals. When I go online and I post, I also am doing it to be visible and to connect with people and to impart my truth. So sometimes my videos, and even at this event, trigger people, especially moms who have not been able to have a natural birth and get triggered by that. Maybe they got tricked, maybe for whatever reason they couldn't, but they will actively reject it. Without even hearing what has to be said, they will actively reject it. They will see that and they will be like, how dare you talk about natural birth? How dare you suggest that C-sections are traumatic? I had to have one. How dare you say induction is not so great? How dare you talk about the medical system the way you do? I mean, you probably get that with your own work too. How dare you say that thing? Do you know what's really going on? When you dare to put yourself out there, when you dare to be misunderstood, when you dare to set a boundary, when you dare to piss people off, you see them. So I was willing to be completely out there and speak my truth. I was willing to speak out against what had happened to me in my life, what my experiences had been. In personal, I was just like, I was upfront. I would say things like, well, I mean, my experience is that I was beaten down, I was abused. Like, a lot of people are told not to talk about that, not to say that you were in an abusive relationship, because you know that makes you a victim. And you're not supposed to talk about birth trauma. You're not supposed to say you were traumatized by your birth, because that makes you a victim. No, it makes it truthful. If you say that something hurt, it hurt. Now, what I've also recognized, though, is that you have to fully own your truth. You can't be doing it from a place of wounding. You can't be from a place of getting something either. So when I say I had a traumatic birth, I got screwed over by the system, I'm not happy about it, the women that I work with are not happy about it, I was in an abusive relationship, I did get played by men, there is a certain behavior that men have done that have hurt, and if they've done that behavior in the past, that can be triggering, unless they've owned that part of themselves. So, if you were tricked by the system and you don't own that, it can come up as, well, now you're shaming. And if you intentionally did something to hurt somebody else, well, now you're blaming me. And I had nothing to do with what you did. Or I didn't know. It's like, no. So you have to not be shaming or blaming or making wrong. However, that doesn't mean you won't still piss people off. So when I'm in my comment sections and threads, whether it's in birth, whether it's in relationships, whether it's just me doing my women's empowerment, I'm there for two things. One, intentional attention. This is different from give me validation. This is, can I get people to start paying attention to the message? Not pay attention to me, pay attention to the message. Because if the message triggers them, then I can get into a conversation. So, in terms of putting yourself out there in the dating market, there's going to be a lot of people, if you go all out, and there's girls that are like, who does she think she is? And there's guys that are like, oh, she's just trying to get attention. Or if it's a guy and he's working out and he looks really good and he posts on his social media, same thing. Oh, he's just trying to get girls' attention. Maybe. Or maybe he's trying to get one girl's attention to see if she's still paying attention. Maybe that girl is trying to get one guy's attention. Ever heard of The Great Gatsby? Fascinating book. Where Gatsby basically, he was living this life of luxury and he was throwing these lavish parties, and you would think that he was just trying to get girls. But he wanted Daisy. He wanted Daisy's attention. So, when you recognize that, when you recognize that you may be trying to get somebody's attention, the other part is the interaction to see if there's an alignment. And this is the other part, is I pay attention in these comment threads, and I pay attention when I'm talking with people. And I paid attention with my true love too. So this also ties into that. And the first question is, did it piss them off? And if it pissed them off, why? And if it pissed them off, did it piss them off enough to engage in a way that I could subtly showcase to other people that this person who pretends that they are enlightened is actually full of crap? Because I like to pull masks off. I'm a Scorpio. I'm a shit disturber. It's in my nature. It's in a lot of Scorpios' nature. It's just a thing. The trick is, are you a shit disturber just because you like to upset people? Or are you a shit disturber for a purpose? I have intentionally put bait out there that if other people knew that certain fish were hooked on that bait, if it was revealed too quickly, would have blown up big time. You don't want to put out too much bait, and you still want to lure the one that you want. So even in my business, I intentionally put out some bait to attract at a lower level and then slowly move in to my target niche to attract those really high-level women that are going to go all in and work with me directly. Then there's the ones that could probably never work with me, but could learn from me and then pay it forward and pass it on to others. And then there's the ones that I'm intentionally shifting mindsets to be more open and connected. So, if you wanted to translate that into the dating world, ladies, intentionally put your bait out there. You know what you got. You know you're sexy as hell. You are attracting, you're going to attract both sides. You're going to attract those that are only looking for what they can get, the freebie seekers. And I mean, my YouTube channel attracts those too. I get a lot of freebie seekers for my free stuff on my business. And I get a lot of guys that try to follow me on my Instagram just because I'm probably a pretty face that they get to look at. I'm like, you know that. But I'm not looking for a true love. I've got him. I know where he is, and I know that he finds me to be the most alluring woman he has ever met. And I am the most extraordinary woman he has ever met. And that the second we look into each other's eyes, it is just like magic. I know that. And I also know how I make my clients feel. They can go months without talking to me after we have already finished up. They keep coming back. The women that I've helped, even if they've never been able to pay me, still come back. They still tell others about me. And the reason for that is simple, because of how I make them feel. And I'm doing it because, first of all, sometimes I'm the only one that sees them fully because I'm intentionally seeing them. I'm also not afraid to point out things that they might not take very well at first. And they're open because they love me and they trust me and they know I'm doing it for their highest good. So when I'm online and I'm just out there intentionally pissing people off, it's to see if they can hang. And if they can hang to a degree that I would like them in my community, in my circle, then I'm going to invite them. Maybe not at the deepest level. Maybe we'll never even work together. But if I know about them, I can tell others about them. So when I'm out there doing my magic and a whole bunch of guys are telling me how amazing I am and how beautiful, I'm looking to see how awesome is this guy? How smart is he? How funny is he? How evolved is he? Oh, he speaks. Give this man a podcast. Because this man needs to be out there with his peacock feathers so that all the women that are sitting there trying to kiss frogs in a pond suddenly realize, oh, there's a prince right there. And he's my prince. Like the one woman for the one prince. Or, I mean, it doesn't even have to be gender specific, but like you get the idea. It's like there's your person. And same with business. If I know that somebody would make an excellent addition to my community, whether they pay me or not, if they're going to be an ambassador, I call them my Empowered Mom ambassadors. Or there's somebody that would be really interesting that I'd love to just get to know more about their community. And I'd love to collaborate with them because it's like, hey, I'm adding you to my network so I can connect you to other people in my network. But the first thing I have to do is I got to piss them off. I got to piss them off because of what I learned. Because before, when people were just super nice to me because they knew that they could get lots from me, I didn't piss them off and they took advantage of me. And I am very, very generous. I'm very generous with my time. I'm very generous with the knowledge that I give out, the wisdom. As you can see, if you go check out my channel, you'll see it. And I do put out a lot of stuff for free. In fact, I have a completely free path in my business. I have a free path even with my friends. It's like, hey, you add yourself to my social media. Like, I add you as a friend. You're in. You're now connected to my network. That's the thing about social media that people miss. When somebody adds you as a friend, they are not just adding you. They are adding your entire network. And certain people will add everybody from your friends list. I've seen it. Somebody on my friends list adds somebody I don't know. And I don't just go by, oh, you're a mutual friend with 12 people. I'm like, who are those 12 people that they're mutual friends with? Because if they're in connection with somebody who I revere highly, and I do have some very high profile friends, I look at that, I'm like, okay, that person, I might want to talk to them. Because if they are on a personal friends like network with this person, they are probably somebody that if they reached out, I could get curious and see where we align, or if I could connect them to somebody else in my network. If, however, they've added everybody and all I see on their profile is nothing but business stuff and they are just spamming quotes and there's nothing about them and the people that they're friends with are not in my inner circle, chances are I'm going to put my guard up a little bit more. Chances are I'm going to look at that. And this is again where it comes into with why I'm friends with a lot of men is I'm connected to a lot of women. High value, intelligent, powerful women who want their true love. I guarantee some of those brothers might just end up finding the love of their life, or my sisters might find the love of their life through mutual friends. And then the other thing is when you have that network, that close network, even when things are kind of tricky and you can't get to the person that you want right away, but you know they're it, sometimes it's off to the side. And again, you won't know if they're truly going to stand for you unless you have the strong boundaries and you're okay with sometimes disappointing them and sometimes saying things that you aren't sure if they might piss people off. I love to get people to try to piss me off. Actually, it fuels me. When people piss me off, either because they're not taking action or because I know they're lying to themselves, or because they're saying something that is so toxic that is harmful to those I love, it fires me up and gets me creative. I come up with creative ways to get my message out there louder. I find creative ways around blocks. I find creative ways and very bold ways to express myself. And once I know that something is absolutely for me, I don't give up. And I would even go and stand in the rain for 4 hours if I knew that there was even a slight chance that I would get that I'd get the opportunity to fix something. And if that doesn't work, well, I might find another way in. And that's the key. So pay attention to what pisses you off, because that in itself is gold. That shows you what you need to look at. You need to ask why that pisses you off. If it's a sense of justice for other people, follow that. If it's a sense of justice for you, there is some wounding that needs to be taken care of. Before you can even get to your next level, you need to take care of that heart pain. Like, it used to hurt me for people to tell me there are good men out there, and I'd be like, where? I don't see them. You're just giving me false hope. No, it's over for me. And I closed my heart. But at the same time, when I found my true love and people said there's other men out there, you saw them, you can go anywhere. I'm like, no, that pisses me off. Because now you're trying to tell me that this one's not good enough. And I'm telling you right now, this is the one. And I will fight for him. Because I know. No, you're not going to tell me he's not that great. You're not going to tear him down. You are not going to make him wrong. I will fight for him. And same with my clients. When people will say things like, well, she shouldn't have done that. That's not safe. You shouldn't be saying that. It's like, no. If you knew the crap that woman went through before I found her, if you sat there and listened to her story and heard her sob her eyes out and watched as that beautiful, strong, powerful woman that was so professional in everything else in her life, and you watch her fall apart as she tells her birth story, you would not be saying the crap that you're saying right now, and you would not be telling me to stop doing what I'm doing. And if you could hear what a lot of men have told me about how they feel about themselves, powerful, successful, handsome, intelligent men, it would break your heart. My brothers love me and adore me. My fathers love me and adore me because I love them so much. And when they share those vulnerabilities, because I am so safe for them to share them, I'm not judging them for it. I'm sitting there and I am listening and I am fascinated by it. When they tell me, it's like, I did this and this is the thought behind it and this is what I grew up with and this is the story that I was told and this is how I was treated when I was a boy, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. It pisses me off too. You know why? I've got a son. Do you have any idea how much it pisses me off when people try to tell my son boys shouldn't cry? Fastest way to get me attacking. Fastest way. Try to crush my little son's heart. He's 11 now. I mean, he's not so little. He's taller than me now. But you crush that beautiful boy's heart, you answer to me. And I'm standing for every single little boy and every single little girl who was ever told that she was too much or not enough, or he was told he was too much or not enough. And I'm tearing down this whole freaking structure. Because that's the thing about Scorpio. We really, really do not give a crap. And I was actually going to say flying F, but I figured maybe I would temper it just a little. But you know I'm thinking it. We really don't. If it is not serving anybody, if it is hurting people, no, it needs to die. If somebody is lying to themselves about how they truly feel, if they are staying stuck, I am willing to give very tough love. I am willing to burn everything away to show them just how much they need to stand in their truth. I am willing to wait as long as it takes. I am willing to love people from a distance. If a mom comes to me even, and she tells me that she wants what she wants, and she's not willing to do the work, and she makes up a whole bunch of excuses, I'm going to lovingly keep my distance. Still help her by having my magic out there and being like, it's out there. But I'm not giving any more energy to this until you're serious. Because I'm like, no. No. You have to be okay with people thinking that you're selfish with your time. That pisses them off. It's like, well, you're not giving to me anymore. That pisses me off. Well, I'm not giving to you because you're not at the level where you can give back. And no. No. You're not doing the work. No. If they're pissed off at me because of something I say that triggers them, okay, it triggered you. I get that. Can you tell me more about that? Why did it trigger you? This is my intention. I'm going to love your wounded part. But if you're going to keep throwing fire at me after I'm loving your wounded part, well, no. And that's what you really need to recognize, is that every single person that you interact with has a wounded part, and they also have the potential to transcend that. And the key is how they react when you intentionally piss them off. Not to hurt them in a way that diminishes them, but to help them. Because again, if you are speaking to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one. You leave people alone. You leave them to keep following the same patterns, doing the same things that hurt them over and over and over again. They don't grow. They don't get the truth. If you are afraid to speak the truth that you have uncovered, if you are afraid to keep digging for that truth, no matter how dark it gets, and believe me, the work that I have done with my clients, there is some really dark stuff. It's really triggering and confronting, and I have done a lot of work on myself to be able to hold space for those incredibly traumatic stories that piss me off. I've done a lot of work to be able to listen to men tell me what's going on. And by doing that, I've also become a really good mother to my son. I can hold those boundaries, even when I piss him off. Because you know what? When you have kids, you need to piss them off too. I piss my kids off daily. And even though I piss them off, I ask them one question. Hey, do you know that I love you? Yes, Mom. Do you feel safe with me even though I'm saying no to this? Yes, Mom, I feel safe with you. I can tell you anything. Even if I screw up royally, if I did the dumbest thing ever, I know you love me. You're not going to hurt me. I'm like, good. And then I'm like, hey, I can get pretty scary sometimes. I mean, I'm not perfect. I can get pretty mean. If I've been pushed to my limit, I do have a dark side. And he's like, yeah. And it's like, do you still trust me even though you know I've got that dark side? And again, my kids are like, yes. When you know how to wield both light and dark in yourself, and that's the key, you need both. That's when change and transformation happens. And since today is the day of the eclipse, and we are moving into the season of transformation and rebirth, I just wanted to leave you with that. When you piss people off, it takes off their mask and reveals the truth. When you piss people off, it invites a deeper conversation. When you piss people off, you learn who they really are. Can they love you even though you're pissing them off? Even though you've cut them off from something that they were really loving and enjoying, and you cut them off, are they still standing for you, even with that distance? Because if they're still standing for you, even when you have done things that most people would walk away from and write you off as a jerk or a bitch, well, that's when you know who your friends are. That's when you know where the love really is. And that's where you know where your community is. Whether you've got a whole bunch of yeses that are not really a yes, and they're not really going to go through your stuff, and they're not going to buy from you, versus the ones that, even if they don't buy from you, will tell the world about you. Everything you do, everything you say, as you put yourself out in the world, even if you don't say a word, your dress, all of it, shows how much you actually value yourself, how much you actually need validation from others, because there's a certain level of confidence and light. I don't have to be all dressed up. I can just as easily go across the street in my bathrobe to drop my daughter off if I'm really feeling sick. It doesn't matter to me. Because for me, it's like, you know what? This is who I am today. I'm shiny yesterday and I'm not so shiny today. Do you still love me? Or are you going to judge me? You're going to judge me? Well, you never really loved me. You might say, hey, maybe, like, I get that you're not feeling good, but, like, you could probably not do that. And then you can take that or leave it. It's like, you know what? Yeah, I hear you. I know. And, I mean, 80% of the time, I'm doing better. It's just, like, today, I'm not. And I'm going to make that okay. Because then it also shows people they don't have to be perfect all the time. Like, I'll tell my moms, like, you do not have to be perfect right now. They will apologize to me. And I'll say, you don't have to be perfect right now. And then I'll also, like, if you want to be pissed off right now, go for it. They'll apologize for being pissed off. And I'll be like, no. This is awesome. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to just watch you vent. Get it out. Power of a woman's rage. And I mean, there's power in a man's rage too. For a purpose. So, I'm going to invite you to go piss people off. And if you do, and you'd like to have some tips on that, I do have my channel, and I'm thinking, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking I might run classes outside of my birth space. I don't even know if I'll charge or not. I might not. But, I mean, I'm kind of seeing a pattern and branching out. My pillars seem to be very versatile. My community has become quite versatile. A lot of the things I teach in the birth realm seem to transfer over. People have been taking a lot of my advice I give for birth and using it in other areas, and they've had some pretty good successes with it. I don't know. Maybe. If I have the energy for it, I'll do it. If not. But if you are interested or you're curious, you can always reach out. I don't do anything unless I feel really called to do it. I don't do anything unless I have, like, enough of a reason to do it. I mean, if people really, really, really beg me, I might do it or I might not, even if they're begging me. I might say, hey, I know what you're saying and I'd love to offer this, and right now I don't have the time, and I'll kind of piss them off. It's like, but if you really want to know, I'll put this on my agenda and we can circle back. And if there's a time that suddenly opens up, then I'll do it. So I'm putting that out there just in case. In case you're getting a lot of value out of this and you're like, you know what? I really do want to know more about what you know. Yeah. I might do classes outside of what I normally teach, or maybe I already did it on a podcast for somebody else that I'm in connection with. I mean, I do teach for other audiences. I mean, if you want me to teach in your audience, I'm happy to do that too. It just has to be aligned because, I mean, I'm very, very protective and intentional with my energy. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to go rest though, because my throat has been really scratchy, and I'm going to take a nap. Not sure exactly what I'm going to do this weekend. Hopefully I get better by Friday, because I have an interview with somebody for my channel, and like, I want to be able to be at my best for that. So that's why I'm going to actually take some time to rest. And then the weekend I have completely open. I know what I'd like to happen. It's the same thing I want every weekend. And if it doesn't, well, then maybe it'll happen a couple weekends later, or I don't know. I mean, I've been putting out the bait, and I know that it's getting where it needs to get. So, I mean, it's just a matter of time before I get what I want. And, I mean, this threads thing has been a lot of fun too. I've been having a lot of fun with that. And just putting my light out there and pissing people off. Can't forget the pissing people off part. Really, you can't. It's once you no longer fear rejection, it's fun. It's just fun. You get a lot more information out of somebody when they're pissed off than when they're calm. Did you know that? Anyway, I love you, and I will hopefully talk to you soon. Bye now.